Right, everyone. So while on the Impulsive podcast, Michael Cole talked about JD McDonough's, it ended up he getting hurt on a flip outside the ring. Here's what he said. I thought he was dead. I really did. He came off that ring and he hit the desk so hard and moved our desk back. I seriously thought he was dead. Come to find out later, he hadn't even really hit his head. He had broken ribs and a punctured lung, and he went on and finished the match another 10 minutes. So, JD McDonough is one of those guys who's obviously he's a part of the Judgment Day, and the Judgment Day when they had Damian Priest and Rhea Ripley. It's a stable full of talent, right? And you have Finn Balor, you have Dominic Mysterio, who's just great heel. And so JD McDonough is not always viewed as, like the leader of it by any means. This bump that JD McDonough took, and the fact that he went on to fight in the match for another 10 minutes, he has earned my respect from the day I saw it until forever. It was just phenomenal. And it shows you the type of, person he is in a sense of how much he loves wrestling and how much he loves the business. And when you hear the crowd, they were really behind that match. It makes it all the better. Now, obviously, you don't want guys puncturing lungs and breaking ribs and still wrestling and doing all this, but he's earned my respect forever. And I really do hope, because it felt like there was a little bit of gas behind that, right? It was like a rocket ship with JD McDonough and kind of being the tag team partner there. Maybe there's something here when he gets back. And I think a lot of wrestling fans are going to feel that way when he returns. They're going to remember that bump he took. They're going to remember how, he continued to fight basically. And it's one of the more phenomenal things. So thank you all for watching. All right, everyone. So Undertaker talked about Michael Hayes and kind of his impact on his career. Here's what Undertaker said. He was brilliant, man. I think, and Michael was a great heel, and the Freebirds were great, but his contributions behind the scenes as a producer, I think are far. I mean, that's hard to say because the Freebirds were awesome, but I think him as a producer is his greatest contribution to the wrestling business. He was my producer for, all my WrestleMania matches, and just an incredible wrestling mind. He was so good and still is. And he's training, I think, Bobby Roode now to kind of be the next guy down the line. Mike says he's doing phenomenal as a producer. Okay. So, I wanted to do this video because obviously the wrestlers are the ones who get all the credit and they deserve it. They certainly deserve the credit. They trained for so long, they put on this fantastic show. They put their bodies on the line in the ring and all of that, so they deserve credit. But there's all of this stuff that goes on behind the scenes that helps make this company go, whether it's the people in creative, whether it's people producing the matches. And I think, in my opinion at least, WWE should continue to highlight these people because, for wrestling, it's much like professional sports in the sense that you never know how long these guys actually have in their prime. But you could do producing, you could do stuff behind the scenes, for forever because that's mind intense, but it's not physically intense. And so the more they kind of praise these people in the back, the more they give opportunities to the actual wrestlers to kind of go back there and become a part of that aspect of the business, the better. And even in terms of, you're talking about, okay, you have this guy who's producing. Well, if you're just a producer that's never actually gotten to the ring, there are some benefits to that. And what I mean by that is if you're someone who actually has never wrestled, but you can come at it from a fan standpoint, well, if you're putting together a match, that's helpful because a wrestler might have a different mind. From the same token, if you have a former wrestler who comes in and is now in that producer role, he can give the wrestler's perspective and why this thing is going to be tough for the wrestler to pull off while something else isn't. And so I think having a mix of both, fellow wrestlers or I should say former wrestlers, being able to help wrestlers that are there currently, I think would be awesome. So I just wanted to give a shout out to Michael Hayes for this. And we talked about this with even Triple H, right? When you talk about Triple H, what is making him so successful so far? I think it's his ability not only to understand this, because he's been working behind the scenes, kind of under Vince or around Vince for so long, but now he's taken over the role completely. So what is it that's making him so good? Well, he has all of that behind the scenes knowledge, and he also has all of that in-ring knowledge as a wrestler. And so he's able to understand what the wrestlers are going through, and he's also able to understand, what's needed from the standpoint of the behind the scenes people, right? And how you deal with kind of the corporate structure. So I think that's really a big success. So thank you all for watching. We'll see you next time. All right, everyone. So Bully Ray talked about John Cena potentially visiting TNA. Here's what he said. I love the idea, not only because I came up with it, I'll give you a little backstory, okay? When CM Punk, before he went to AEW, I thought that Punk could mean more to the wrestling business if he went back to Ring of Honor, similar to how Devon and I went back to help ECW that one night, or how Taz went back to help ECW that one night. Punk returning to Ring of Honor could have helped the overall health of the entire business. That's why I think Cena challenging Hendry for the world championship could help the health of the entire business. Do I think that's going to happen? No, but I would be on board if it did happen. Absolutely breathing life into TNA in a way that nobody ever thought could possibly happen. That's why I like it. So the interesting thing about this is there's a few different ways you could look at this. Number one, WWE and TNA now have this partnership. So you see the Hardys are going to be going on to NXT, and you kind of see this, merging of the two in a way, and they're helping each other out. And I think that's good because when you just have WWE as this lone dominant thing, there's nowhere else for wrestlers to go if they get released by WWE. At least now we have TNA and we have AEW. And so John Cena going there as part of that deal would be WWE showing TNA that, you know what? We mean it when we say this is like a partnership. We're willing to give one of our best stars. The holdup on this to me is, okay, so if John Cena does go to TNA, what happens here? If he beats Joe Hendry for the TNA World Championship, that makes TNA look like a joke. If the TNA World Champion beats John Cena on his farewell tour, that kind of looks like a joke. And if you have somebody come in and interfere, that makes whoever the person came in on behalf of look like a joke. So I just don't know how you pull it off. I think it would be a great idea if WWE could find a way to pull it off without without having anyone look bad, because you don't want to make Joe Hendry look like a joke, and you don't want John Cena to look like a joke. Now, the other aspect of this is, you got to remember there's this AEW that, so WWE and TNA are kind of buddy-buddy now, and AEW is the competition, right? AEW is more of a competitive thing. It's not quite competition like WCW was going head-to-head with WWE, but AEW is a form of competition. WWE and AEW don't really work together. And I think, and maybe this is kind of like, thinking a little bit outside the box, but the idea of a John Cena going to TNA and, for this match and having, TNA's brand kind of given a bigger spotlight, that might help WWE in their kind of battle against AEW, because that's what TNA and AEW are kind of fighting for, right? They're the ones that neither of them are at WWE's level, but they're trying to kind of fight for that level of that second place status in a way. And I don't actually know TNA's rating, so maybe AEW is, significantly higher than TNA, but John Cena bringing more eyeballs to it could certainly do something as it pertains to in that kind of rivalry. So thank you all for watching.
My guy, Corey Graves.
That's a strange situation. I love Corey.
Me too.
Love him to death. I still don't understand all the dynamics of it. I know that he sent something out on social media that was pretty critical of the company. He tried to explain to everyone that he was trying to generate some interest in maybe a type of a storyline. I don't think the company saw. I don't think the company saw it that way.
It was not a work,
right? And
it was a shoot.
Yes,
allegedly.
But so, and again, I think him and the company are working that out. I love Corey to death. He's an unbelievable commentator. Beside McAfee, he's probably best partner I've ever had.
Dude, you guys are like such a good duo to me, and I personally.
So this is not necessarily the best thing for Corey Graves, right? I'm not saying what Michael Cole's saying is not the best for Corey Graves. What I'm saying is that the fact that he tweeted out what he did, and then at the end of it tried to claim to WWE that, oh yeah, this was just part of a storyline, that makes it bad. At the time, I thought, hey, there's a potential here that this is some big storyline. But what looks like happened is Corey Graves was upset, tweeted something, and then said, oh crap, I screwed up. And then tried to say, hey, I was making this into some kind of shoot, right? Don't worry about this, right? This was all for a storyline, and obviously nothing since has come in. WWE clearly wasn't too happy about it. And the hard part about this is, once again, we're talking once again about kind of the skill level right, of everybody in WWE and the amount of talent they have. And the same goes for that announcing booth. I mean, the amount of talent that they have for announcers. So you got Michael Cole, you got Pat McAfee, right? You got those two. Then you got Joe Tessitore, you got Wade Barrett. Just keep going down the list. Those are only four. And I don't want to keep going because I feel like if I keep going, I'm going to leave somebody out who should be on there. But throw Corey Graves in that mix as well. He's another phenomenal announcer. So it's just, there are so many fantastic announcers in WWE. It's tough, you know, and in a lot of, there might have been a lot of times when Corey Graves would be on the main show, but this one isn't, you know, this is not one of those times right now because you have the Pat McAfees, you have the Michael Coles, Joe Tessitore, I think is, you know, people were wondering how good he'd be. Joe Tessitore just brings a big game feel to everything, you know, because you've heard his voice in other places. So when you hear him commentating WWE and taking it so seriously, it gives you a level of seriousness to the storytelling. So he's fantastic. Wade Barrett, I can't believe it. I really cannot believe how good he is, you know, in the announcing booth. I just, it's phenomenal to me. So I feel for Corey Graves because it's probably frustrating, but like I've been saying, he just has to wait. You know, it's one of those instances where, okay, this is a setback, but it's not the end, so I just have to wait. So thank you all for watching. All right, everyone. So Stevie Richards, former WWE star, had this to say about the WWE releasing Giovanni Vinci. He said, "You didn't even give the guy a chance. At least back in the day, you get 3, 4, 6 weeks to get yourself over. They set you up to fail, but at least you got a chance. They didn't give this guy a chance, and then they release him. They probably gave him some reason, like obviously budget cuts, or what the friendly thing to say. You know, look, I completely understand why Giovanni Vinci would be upset, and I do understand what Stevie Richards is saying here, but I think people have to understand that you can't really have it both ways. You know, right now WWE is at this point where you have an overload of talent all the way through, and they're paying these guys really well. You know, we just saw the minimum contracts these guys are getting, and it's something that back in the day WWE fans or WWE wrestlers wouldn't even have dreamed of, right? Having a guaranteed contract in that way. So when you mix all that together, this overwhelming amount of, you know, real talent in the WWE with the kind of money that goes into signing these people, you're going to get releases like this where people just unfairly don't get a chance. That's just the, you know, the business in a sense. And it is not great. It's not fair and it sucks, but that's what we have. And, you know, when you go back in the day, when you have guys that are on cheaper contracts and, you know, there's a little bit more room there. You know, you can negotiate differently when you don't have guaranteed money going to someone versus, okay, if I sign this guy again, I have to guarantee him $300,000, $250,000, benefits, everything else. It just plays a part. So it's sad. I hope, you know, Giovanni Vinci lands on his feet. We'll see where he ends up. Maybe he ends up in another, you know, there's plenty now of these alternative wrestling places, whether it's AEW, TNA, and others. There's plenty of them, and I do think they're getting a lot of buzz. You know, you could really make a name for yourself in AEW, regardless of what people think of AEW. You can make your name for yourself there. TNA, you can make a name for yourself there. And so, if you know he's able to go to one of those places, get his name on the map, and then comes back to WWE, that might be the way to do it. But at the end of the day, it's just the nature of the business right now, where you're going to have people who get signed, but because of the talent in NXT, because of the talent all over the place, you just don't see that kind of increase in, or you don't get the chance that you probably deserve to get, you know, and it's sad we didn't get to see that. So thank you all for watching. All right, everyone. So Gunther is not happy with having to face Jey Uso. This is from the Daily Mail. "I'm not interested in wrestling Jey at WrestleMania. I was looking for somebody who was one of the last few remaining guys on the roster that I would say are maybe one step ahead of me. And it would have been nice to be in there with one of them, to bring them down 1 inch and make a step up. I think the Rumble was packed like never before. With Jey there was basically the underdog winning all of this, but also on the other hand, he's maybe the most popular guy we have right now, and people really want to see him succeed, and they're strapped in to follow him along this whole ride to WrestleMania now." So they're continuing this kind of Gunther storyline where he's like, Jey Uso doesn't deserve to fight me again. I already beat him a bunch. They're continuing that. And I think that's good, you know, because this was one of the problems I had with Gunther's title reign so far, was that they didn't really have a character for him. You know, he wasn't really a heel because people liked him so much, and he wasn't really an anti-hero because he was like this, like I keep bringing this up, but the Damian Priest storyline was just shocking to me. How they had Gunther kind of doubting himself and stuff like that. It's like that's not the Gunther character, and that's like making Steve Austin. I'm obviously not comparing Gunther to Steve Austin in the sense of like popularity or anything like that, but that's like having Steve Austin. If one storyline he was, just sitting around like, oh, I don't know if I could do this anymore, like that kind of thing. It's like that's not him, and that's not Gunther either. And so I thought that was not good. But I'm happy that at least we know from here until WrestleMania, we're going to get a good version of Gunther for his title reign. Because I don't blame him for how his title reign has been. I think it was more WWE's fault with their booking and stuff like that has caused this. And it sucks that this is setting up for a Jey Uso, really big moment at WrestleMania, which is, I'm not saying it sucks because Jey Uso is going to have this moment. I think that's going to be awesome. But it sucks because Gunther's going to have to probably lose the championship for that moment to occur. That stinks, right? That's not necessarily the best. So thank you all for watching, and we will see you next time.
Just signed a brand new contract with the company, so I'm going to be here for a number of years.
Wow, cool.
Balling. Yeah, and I mean, but the company really made me feel, really for the first time that I was really important to this place.
What? And after 28 years?
Yeah, after 28 years.
Sometimes. Why? Because the paycheck?
Oh, the paycheck's part of it, but the new regime had a lot to do with it. But when I went to sign the new deal, I sat down with my wife, and I'm 58 years old now, and I'm like, they want to get me to retirement age, and is this because we had talked about me getting out of this for a long while now, just because of the travel and everything else, and she was like, you got to do it. This is your legacy. Like you're going to be miserable if you don't finish this up the way you want to finish it up. And she was great about it. And so she was 100% on board with it. And so I'm here for a while.
Hey, congratulations.
Thank you.
So this is actually a pretty big deal to me because it's just Michael Cole, when he's gone, it's not that any of these new announcers aren't good, but when he's gone, it's just going to be a new era in WWE. Michael Cole is really just the last guy remaining from that Attitude Era time. And I remember when he was just kind of that reporter, right? He was the guy that was just in the locker room interviewing guys, and people would beat him up and make fun of him or whatever. And then he became an announcer. So Michael Cole is the last kind of bridge to that. Once he's gone, everybody else that's on the announcing crew it's gonna be back to kind of a whole new age of people. And not that they're not good, they're phenomenal, but I'm happy that Michael Cole, at least for the foreseeable future, will be there, and he'll help, because you just announcing, a lot of people think it's easy, but it's pretty tough being able to do what they do and being entertaining in it. And you got to remember that when we're watching that, they're the audio we're really hearing. They're the ones that are bringing it to life for the viewer at home. So when you think of it that way, you understand that they are an important role. And Michael Cole is, one of the best at it. So thank you all for watching. We'll see you next time. All right, everyone. So we're reading here from WrestlingNews.com. WWE Hall of Famer Shawn Michaels may think he has at least one match left in him, but would he actually return to the ring to do it is a major question to be asked. Michaels retired for the second time in his career in 2010, following a memorable career versus streak bout against The Undertaker at WrestleMania 26. He came out of retirement in 2018 at WWE Crown Jewel to team with Triple H against The Undertaker and Kane. According to Conrad Thompson, the rumor is Michael was paid $3 million to wrestle on that show. JDC, formerly known as Fandango in WWE, participated in a Q&A session hosted by Monopoly Events. During the session, he claimed that while attending a recent WWE NXT show, Michaels said he had one or two matches left in him. JDC said, "You know who I talked to last week who said he's got one or two matches left in him? Shawn Michaels. He's the reason why I got into the business, so honestly, it'd probably never happen, but that would be my dream match with Shawn." So Shawn Michaels, obviously one of the all-time greats. I would hope that if he does come back and wrestle again, that he makes sure that he has it if he does come back. I just think Shawn Michaels is one of those guys that when you watch them wrestle, it was just so, pure in a way, right? It was just perfect wrestling. And the way he used to sell moves and all of that, it's just vintage Shawn Michaels, and you just know his style. As you get older and, the condition he would be in now, it's a lot harder to have that type of style. And so I hope if he does wrestle, he could do it, because you hate seeing these guys that just do too many matches. And it kind of, obviously, if he had a match, it wasn't good. It wouldn't ruin his legacy, but you just don't like watching as someone who you've watched for so long deliver so much for the wrestling business, kind of have that bad match. So I thought WWE had him involved, right, with the Cody Rhodes, Kevin Owens thing. I think you could do stuff like that, no problem. But getting into the ring for an actual match, that's a different story. So thank you all for watching, and we'll see you next time.